Hi, welcome to episode 7 of this app development tutorial. In the last episode, we worked on creating the XML file for the format of the detail activity. In this episode, we're going to use Java to programmatically populate that XML file we created. All these buttons and views and image views, we're going to populate these now in our detail activity fragment file with Java. The first thing you notice here on create view is that it's returning the fragment detail, the XML file that we created here. So this detail activity fragment will show this blank fragment detail XML file. Instead of returning it right away, we're going to do the same exact thing, but first, before we return it, we're going to define it. So this is the same exact thing as what they put in here automatically for us, but the reason why we want to define root view is because root view is this detail fragment we created, and we want to use that root view to populate the fragment. So let's say we wanted to populate this random text view called rating. We would do text view x. This is just an example. Equals root view dot find view by ID, and then we'd put in the ID for rating. So that's why we want to define root view. So we already passed all the information in through intents in episode 5. Now we're going to get all that data from our intent. Just set the title of the activity or the fragment to movie details. And let's create some variables up here. Some static variables. These are just all the things that define the movie: the YouTube path, the second YouTube path, the overview, the rating, date. The review is a combination of the entire array list of comments, which we'll see in a second. What was passed in through the intent for the comments is an array list of strings. So that's what we'll be using to populate the reviews. But then the review will be all the comments combined into one fat string. And we'll use that for storing the content later when we favorite a movie. share action provider will be so that we can share the YouTube link for the video. We can add a share function to the activity. Let's just set review to null at first. And now we're going to get the data from the intent. So if you remember in episode 5, here in our movies fragment, we put all these extras into one nice intent that we send over to this activity. Now we're going to retrieve all these extras. So we're going to do this about about 9 times. And then for each one, we're taking a different part of the intent. So let's set the overview text view first. Alright, looks like we set the overview for the movie. Let's copy something similar over to the title. Do the same for the rating. Make sure to change this to title. Same for the date. The poster path is an image view, not a text view, so it's going to be a little different. Remember how we used Picasso to populate each element of the grid view? Well, we're going to do the same thing. Just resizing this to the right size. To the width by the width times 1.5 because that's the ratio of the width to the height. Of each poster and put that into the image view. We'll be working on what hitting the YouTube link buttons do in the next episode, so that when you want to watch a trailer for the movie, you can just hit one of the buttons. Right now we're just going to set the variables in here for future use. So this is the fun part. We're going to be doing this all programmatically. If you remember correctly from the last episode, we didn't create anything. The last thing in our layout is just a text view that says reviews. It doesn't say anything after that. What's under here? Nothing. So now we want to programmatically add, depending on how many comments there are, how many elements there are in the array list comments, programmatically add a new text view to the linear layout for each comment there is. So it's going to loop through all the comments, which was passed through the intent, and for each comment it's going to create a new text view and add it onto this linear layout. So you can have anywhere from 1 to 0 to 100 text views. Actually, you can't have 0 text views. The least is 1. Remember how we named our entire linear layout linear back here? We're going to get that right now. Before each comment, we're going to create a divider. It's just a black line with a very small height, like a 1 dp height. It's just a black line. So we're going to create that here. And of course the text view. Now we have to set the layout params for the divider and the text view. Because we're not doing this in the XML file, we have to set these through Java. The layout width, the layout height, and other elements of it. So to do this, you have to create layout params. So we're setting the width of this layout param to match parent, and the height of this layout param try to guess what we set the height to. Wrap content. And of course set the text view. Give the text view those layout params. Now we have to set the layout params for the divider. We want it to just be 1 pixel high. That's all. So it just looks like a black line. As wide as the entire parent, but only 1 pixel high. First, we're just setting the padding of this text view here. Now for the layout params for the divider. So the width will be match parent. We'll make the height wrap content for now. And then immediately afterwards, we're going to take this x for the layout params and change the height to 1. So you could just put 1 here. But it's better to do it this way. So we're changing the height to 1, and then we're setting the layout params of the divider. Make sure the divider is black. And now we're going to set the contents of the text view. Then we're going to add the divider first, and then we're going to add the text view. So for every comment there is, a black line will be added with a text view containing the comment right under it. And here's one more thing we're going to put in here just for the future. Remember how the review is supposed to be a giant string containing all the comments? Well, we're going to divide the comments in this giant string with any divider we want to create. So if the review is empty, the review will just be the first comment. And then if it's not empty, we're going to add on any new comments to the string. And we can name our divider anything. Let's name it divider123. Preferably something that won't actually be in an actual review. And the reason why we're compressing the array list of comments into a review string is so that we can store this string in our favorites database for later use. This will be in a later episode. Now we're going to change the favorites button depending on if the movie is favorited or not. The favorites button will say either give you the option to favorite the movie or unfavorite the movie. And if nothing is returned, if nothing is taken from the favorite intent, then it will just take a false. So if it's not favorite, so currently this will be the state every single time of the button because we haven't implemented favoriting yet. The button will say favorite. Set the button to gray. And if it is favorited, then the button will say unfavorite. This condition of if it is favorited won't be met in this episode. And we'll just make it cyan. Return the review. In the constructor, let's be sure to create our options menu now. Make sure it has an options menu. So we're inflating this menu into our fragment. Let's go look at this menu detail and see what's in it. Okay, that's weird, it's completely empty. Why are we inflating this? Well, let's populate this with a share function. Let's put an item in this menu. And inflating is another way to say just adding. So we're just adding this currently empty menu item or menu options to our activity. But it's not going to be empty in a second. Nice, and we named this action share. That's what we named the menu item. So we're gonna grab that menu item in our Java code. And we're going to add a share action provider. We imported the wrong share action provider at the top. Now it should be good. And this share intent will allow you to share the YouTube video with whatever other apps you have installed on the phone. So if you have Facebook or something installed, you can share it through this share function. But because the emulator phone doesn't have any of these installed, it'll only come through as texting. You'll be able to text the trailer of the video to anyone through this share function. Alright, let's create the method create share intent. So what we're putting in this share intent is check out this trailer for plus the movie. And the first YouTube link. Alright, we're almost done. Now we have to manage what happens when we click the 3 buttons. We have a favorite button and 2 YouTube buttons in our view, in our format. What happens when you click those buttons? We can't put the behavior, the method that handles that behavior, in this detail activity fragment. We have to put it in the detail activity class itself. So remember how we named the buttons, or we said the onClick is favorite? So that will be the name of the method, favorite. this method favorite will be called when the favorites button is clicked. So what are we going to do now? We're not going to put any code for actually storing the data of the movie yet. We're just going to make the button change color when you press it. Change color on text when you press it. So this code will just make the button change color and text whenever you click it. It won't store any data. Not yet. Let's just put a comment here. Code to store data. For a later episode. Let's just copy this over. Change it to gray. And then we'll create the methods for the other two buttons, the first trailer. This will be called when you hit the click here to watch the first trailer button. And we'll put nothing in here yet, but launch. We'll do this in the next episode. Launch activity with first YouTube video. Same for the second trailer. And one more thing we notice is, look, in this activity, we are adding or inflating the menu detail, which, if you remember correctly, we just added our share function to it. And in this fragment, we're also inflating menu detail. So we're doing this twice. What will happen in the app? Well, it'll show up twice, and we don't want that. We only need it to show up once. There will be two options of the same exact menu detail format. So instead of inflating menu detail here, we're just going to inflate menu main, which has our settings option. This is the same menu that's inflated in our movies fragment grid view. Because we don't want two options to share. We want one option to share and one option to access our settings page. So what happens when you press on settings from the option selected? Well, it'll do the same exact thing as what happened when you press settings in the movies fragment. So let's find that code. It should actually be in the main activity. It just sends you to the settings activity. So copy that code over. Same thing happens. Now let's run this code and hope that everything works out. In the next episode, we'll be creating the function for watching the YouTube trailers when you press one of the buttons. And in the episode after that, we'll store the movie data in a database if the user decides to favorite the movie. Alright, the reviews work. We have our settings. The only thing that's missing, the button works. The only thing that's missing is the title, so something's wrong here. We're not setting the title. Or not the title, but the date. Yeah, the date should go there. Oh, that's because this is dates. We named this dates, and over here, this is date. So let's try that again. It should work now. Yep, the date shows up, the favorites show up, the reviews show up. Let's see what happens when we click this. There we go. Check out this trailer for Inside Out. Alright, thanks for watching. If you learned anything from this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.